The Wrong Bride by Catharina Maura. I have been putting off this author, and I don't know why. She's been on my TBR for a while, and I decided to start with The Windsors, which isn't necessarily the first series that she's written. And clearly, there were some characters whose stories had books before, but these were the ones that really interested me, and I'm so glad I did. This book, in the end, I really enjoyed myself reading it. I am totally fascinated by this family and especially the grandmother. You gotta love the matriarch. But Aries and Raven were a bit problematic for me as a couple. I never understood what was going on with Aries. It took us a really long time to kind of hear his side of the story. And so I never believed his quick shift to devotion for Raven. That being said, there were a lot of great things about this book. I enjoyed it. At the end, they really came together and they were a united front, and they had a lot of stuff to deal with. Her sister is just trash, man. Like total trash. And I'm so glad that she's gone. She totally got what she deserved. But it took a while to get there. That being said, I'm really excited about this series, about this family, to get to know them. And I can see it from the couples that we saw in this book that came from previous series that she knows what she's talking about. And I can't imagine that her writing and her style hasn't gotten better as she's continued to write books. So I'm actually glad I started with this series. Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. Y'all, I was not expecting this book to be as spicy as it was. The cover is adorable and cartoonish. And in my history of sapphic romance, a lot of them have been very gentle, almost metaphorical, or even fade to black. So the level of out there spice that happens was thrilling to me. It's really what I've been looking for in sapphic novels. I want more description. Speaking of description, Meryl really does a great job describing the sex and the orgasms and the pattern, because so often in I've been reading so many novels, but I've noticed a pattern of, oh, and then another orgasm appeared, and that's not the way sex works. You have to work for them. They have to come from somewhere for the most part. And so I really appreciated the real insight into their sex lives and how it was happening. And it was sexy. Also, Phoebe and Grace, the two characters, I should mention their names, Phoebe and Grace. They're great. They're amazing. Go read this book. But they have real conversations about stuff that happens during sex, things that aren't always comfortable. When you lose an orgasm, when someone just does something that doesn't feel good, when you aren't sure if you're someone who can have multiple orgasms. Apparently, she was. She was someone who could have multiple orgasms, but she didn't know until that moment. And those are real conversations that we have in our lives and with our partners. And so I really appreciated the insight and the kindness and clarity with which these two characters discussed these topics. The story is adorable. The relationship is beautiful. There is miscommunication, which I don't always love, but it's in a really sweet way. Like, I don't think she's my girlfriend. Now I totally think she's my girlfriend. Oh my gosh, did you think that we were dating? I thought we weren't dating. What are the jokes you were making? I inhaled it. And I'm so excited to see, I was so excited to see all the queer in this book as well. Not only do we have Phoebe and Grace, who are a lesbian couple, but there are people on all sorts of the spectrum. We've got bi, we've got pan, we've got gender queer, we've got gender fluid, we've got non-binary, we've got trans people, and that's real. Even if they're side characters, yes, this is a sapphic romance novel, but there are queer people in the world. You don't have your token gay couple and then everybody else is straight. It was actually a moment when there was the token straight person, and y'all, sometimes the straight people need to be the token ones. So go read this book. Absolutely loved it. Cleat cute. Mm. Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana de la Rosa. This book took so long to get spicy that I honestly thought we weren't going to get there, but we did. Anyway, the lead up to it was great. It was very Bridgerton in that way, but in Victorian times, in that there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of longing looks, there's some scandal, there's a hasty marriage, but it takes some time. Anna and Gideon, these two main characters, are both so well suited for each other. Ana Maria is from Mexico, and Gideon has Scottish and African slave ancestry. And so they both deal with not being the norm in British London society and having to really work for their place in the world. They get along great, their banter is great. This book also sets up the next two books, which are also about the Luna sisters, her Ana Maria's other two sisters, and I know Isabel and the Rogue, which I believe is what it's called, comes out later this year, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be so much fun. Here's the thing, though. There's so much prim and proper, especially with Gideon. Like, even if you're thinking about someone sexually, you're usually using the language that you're going to use during sex. No, no. Once it gets spicy, Gideon's mind is so spicy. The language just transforms. And I was a little bit thrown by how naughty the language got, especially in his brain and his dirty talk to Ana Maria. But I was all for it. I just I kind of wish I'd gotten a little bit of that longing and that deep sense of passion earlier so it didn't feel like a surprise when we got there. But oh man, so great. Kissing Tolstoy by Penny Reid. I'm going to come out and say that in general, I like this book. She does a really great job with her characters and their awkwardness. And I think honestly, she handled the whole like professor student situation really well, which is not always handled well, I think, in books. I'm gonna just get my big annoyance out right away. Early in the book, Anna is described as having a Nigerian mother, and then it's almost never mentioned until pretty much the end of the book, her beautiful tawny skin, except for once where her roommate, when she's super, super drunk one day, puts a headscarf on her. I wanted more descriptions of her body. I feel like there weren't enough descriptions of who she was. And it almost made me feel like she was being whitewashed. You know, you're not describing her figure or her skin. It's like her, even when we had Luca's perspective, he wasn't describing her in a way that made it clear what she looks like. And that's not fair. Like, if you're Nigerian and you have like these beautiful curls and you're like this luscious skin, like I want to hear it described, because that's what you look like. And we still got his blonde hair and his blue eyes and his whatever. Okay. Having said that, they were a lot of fun to watch. Luca and Anna were a super fun couple, and it was an adorable meet cute and leather pants up the wazoo. And they clearly get along. There's a lot of passion, there's a lot of intelligence. It's not a super spicy book either. So, like, in terms of her books, I'd say go read Knitting in the City, especially Love Hacked. Love Hacked is my favorite one of hers. So you can skip this one. There Is No Devil by Sophie Lark is the second book in the duology. There Are No Saints is the first book. I read it as part of Dark December, and this was the first book where I was intrigued by the plot in my Dark December read. So good job on Sophie Lark for making me have a moment of, oh, dark romances can be really well written. So thank you. However, I liked this book less than There Are No Saints, and I'm super transparent. I'm going to tell you why. It's because the scene in There Are No Saints in his studio lives rent free in my brain, just rent free forever and ever. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I feel like I didn't get that in depth of a scene, of a moment, of a sexual experience in There Is No Devil. In terms of the plot, it satisfied everything that I wanted. They, had there was an intention. They got to know each other. We saw them both grow and they're both change. The relationship is really lovely. In terms of plot, no notes. It was really great. I just wanted a completely intense and overwhelming sex scene like there was in There Are No Saints. And that didn't happen. That's on me. That's on me. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have had the same effect if both books had them. So I'm not gonna knock what was in the first book because it was great, rent free in my brain. I have heard great things about Sophie Lark, that she writes other books that are not always dark. So I'm very intrigued to see maybe what other series of her I should read next. Kimberly Lemming, I am obsessed with you. Like in a healthy, respectful way, I am completely obsessed with you as an author. As a person, I don't know you. I don't know you yet. But as an author, completely obsessed. I read Mistlefoe, the novella between That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon and That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf, and did not disappoint. Page 16, Cunnilingus. That is my kind of novella. And it oh my gosh, it was so much fun, so much fun to watch Ruby and Luca just like find each other and connect with each other. And there's still something really funny about this world where there's just this beautiful, beautiful ratio of, 10 men to one woman. And so the men really work for it. There's a little bit of exhibition in there. Oh my gosh, there's a talking sword who shouts out super nasty things, mermaid butts, if you know, you know. And I am just enchanted with this world. So it was such a lovely, fun break. I was reading some dark stuff around it. I took a break to read Mistlefoe. Such a lovely, fun break. Just reminded me how much I love this world. Just keeping me obsessed with Kimberly Lemming. And y'all, I cannot recommend these books enough. Just so great.